Hi everybody, very welcome to yet another Sunday night live stream. As always, I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. I am here for you guys. This live stream is all about your questions and the way that I can interact with you and help you. So I'm going to be using the super chat. If you have something that's really important that you want to ask me, then use the super chat, and I guarantee that I will answer all the super chat questions that comes up. Then you can use the Mentour Aviation app that I'm hoping that you all have by now. Okay, if you don't, shame on you and me for not showing you better to you. And then I'm going to take some random questions from the normal chat as well. The first thing I want to do is I want to discuss the topic that I put up as a title for this video, and that is, why do aircraft have so many exits on them? Because I saw that was a question that came up in the Mentour Aviation chat earlier, so I just wanted to clear that up once and for all. Aircraft have a different amount of exits depending on how many passengers are on board. Basically, any aircraft out there need to be able to evacuate all of its passengers in 90 seconds using half of the available emergency exits. So that means that half of the exits on the aircraft could be blocked by fire or by something else, and the remaining exits should then be available to be used to get everyone out. If you haven't already, I highly recommend you to check out the emergency evacuation test of the Airbus 380 when they got I don't know how many passengers they managed to squeeze out of that thing in less than 90 seconds. So the amount of emergency exits is determined because of that. This is why on the 737 800 and 900 you will see that it has 4 overwing exits and then 2 emergency exits in the front and 2 in the back. So that's 8 emergency exits in total. But on the MAX, they're going to be 2 additional exits, and that's because the MAX 200 can take 200 passengers. They could not get squeezed out in 90 seconds out of the available 8 emergency exits, so they had to add a second pair. Okay, so this will probably answer all of the questions relating that. This is why you see them at regular intervals, so it's easy for all passengers inside of the aircraft to get out into a close emergency exit. All right, cool. But this is kind of how this works, guys. The more questions that you send in, the more I have to talk about. And this, if you have followed this before, you know that I always lose my voice. But this time I have my cup of tea and honey here, so hopefully I'll be able to keep my voice up. Maurizio Mariani is the first one in the super chat. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Still missing the dog. What, you want the dog here in the live stream? I'm sure that can be arranged. I'll see if I can get him here later on. He's just a nuisance. He tries to bite my foot every time that I do these live streams. Dog Paulie, good to see you here, dog. Hi, would you like to fly Virgin Galactic to space? Great question. Now, I think that every pilot out there always have a dream to fly something faster, cooler, and higher, right? That tends to be, this tends to be a boy or girlhood dream, and part of it is because we're, the technology geeks. And when you are like that, yes, of course you want to try that. Now, having said that, I am not a test pilot, not at all. I do not wish to risk my life in order to further technology. I am more of a risk aversion kind of guy. I want to take the safe route out. And at the moment, Virgin Galactic is very much fringe work. It's something that is yet to be perfectly tested through. But one day, when the techniques have been established by the actual astronauts who are flying those missions at the moment, then of course I would love to try that. I think eventually, providing we can come up with some kind of environmentally sustainable way of getting these planes into orbit, I think eventually that's the way to go, to kind of get high up and then shoot over the continents, go down, maybe fly in just a few hours from North America to Australia. Things like that. It is technically possible, and we are going to have to go there at some point, providing, and I say that again, that we can find some kind of environmentally friendly way of doing it, because quite frankly, the environmental part is starting to bother me a little bit. It's the reports that come out the last only 6 months or so regarding the global warming is bothering me quite a bit at the moment. But that's a different discussion. We can have that later on. So that's the 2 super chat questions. Let's see if we can get something from the Mentour Aviation app to cover them. Mentor, what was your first solo like? It was magical. right? The first solo is a flight that you will always remember. In my case, I went out early in the morning. Like, I did this as part of a government-sponsored program, and we were flying on school time. But if we wanted, some of the instructors was really keen on flying in the morning because it's really calm, clear, very little other traffic around. So I had volunteered to go before school to fly a session. And I knew that my first solo was close, but you never really know when the instructor is going to let you off. So we went out, we did, I think, 2 circuits first, and after the second circuit he just told me to, all right, Peter, just taxi off to the fueling station. And I thought, well, we're going to be refueling the aircraft. We had plenty of fuel, but why not? So we taxied over there, and I remember he was just looking at me and said, all right, so now you take it for a spin yourself, and just smiled, opened the door and went out. And there I was sitting by myself in an aircraft. I was 17 years old at the time, and I remember that feeling of like dread, first of all, because you're really nervous. It's the first time you're actually going to be by yourself in an aircraft, and the only one that can land that aircraft is you. But taxiing out, you can feel the butterflies in your stomach, taking off, and once you lift off, you think, that's it, now it's only me. No one else is going to get this aircraft down, only me. And I did a few circuits. I think the first landing was terrible, if I'm not mistaken, but then the second one was much better, and so on. And it's just like a feeling of intense happiness, and yeah, no, I mean, you have to experience that for yourself. You have to try it out if you want to go for PPL or something. It's going to be an absolutely amazing feeling. I guarantee you that. So, some more super chat questions. Sam Petros, hey Sam, good to speak to you here. Are pilots penalized over taxi and speed violations? We can be. The fact is that there are very specific taxi speeds. There are company taxi speeds, first of all, and then there are airport taxi speeds that we have to adhere to. Normally they are the same. They should be the same, otherwise it's very hard to keep track of them. But generally speaking, we have maximum speed of 10 knots when we're in a turn. It's 30 knots in a straight line on the taxiway, it's 15 knots on aprons, and it's 5 knots if the aircraft is taxiing on a contaminated surface. And we can also backtrack a runway, and sometimes when you backtrack a runway, you might have to enter into an intersection on the runway and then backtrack, turn around and get away fairly quickly, because there might be other pilots coming in on approach. And if that happens, we have a maximum speed of 50 knots when we're backtracking the runway, which is, very close to liftoff speed on a Cessna 172 or 152. So that's quite quick taxiing. The 15 knots on aprons is something that the airport police sometimes checked with, just like with the cars. They stand with their laser camera and they check it out. And if we are in violation of that, they will send a fine to the company, that the company will pay grudgingly, and then send a very angry note to the captain saying that we got this, would you mind please following the speed restrictions? So yes, we can get penalized, as in having problems with the job, not unless it's extremely extremely bad. If you've done something that's dangerous. As always, if you endanger the aircraft or the passengers or your crew in any way, then you're in trouble. But you'll have to pack taxi quite bad in order to do that. We have something on board in my airline called an OFDM, which is Operational Flight Data Monitoring, which is basically like a little tit-tat. Someone who's telling us when we do something wrong. There are parameters that it monitors when it comes to all types of flying parameters, but also taxi speed, and taxi speeds around turns is something that they monitor quite closely. So if we have a trend, let's say that I am taxiing very quickly through the turns, should be 10 knots, maybe I'm doing 15, 20 knots regularly. Well, then after a while, that will be flagged up as a problem. And I could be contacted saying that, listen, we see a trend in your taxiing that you have of too high taxi speed. Would you mind slowing this down? Now, I should mention that this is de-identified generally until there is something dangerous that's being identified. So this is used more from an airline-wide perspective, where they want to see how our pilots doing. Do we see any trends in events, high energy approaches, high taxi speeds, stuff like that. that's what the OFDM is used for, and it's a fantastic tool. It's one of the best systems that have been entered into the airline world since I started, because it gives that little extra check on pilots, especially pilots who needs that extra check. Pilots who don't need it, they didn't need it before either, but pilots who do need it now knows that if they do violate anything, that will be flagged eventually. So it's a great system. Maurizio Mariano, thank you very much for the super chat. Does the size of the emergency exit varies too? It does in some cases, depending a little bit on the size of the emergency exits. What's it called? The slides. Then, if you have a look, for example, at the slides of an Airbus 380, they're twice as wide as you would see on a 737, for example. You can actually, I think, go 2 or 3 at a time. And of course, if you can do that, then yes, then they're much bigger. In the smaller aircraft, like the Airbus 320 or the 737, they're the size they are. You've seen the overwing exits; they're tiny. It's just enough to allow a sufficient amount of people out within 90 seconds. Brian Highland, thank you very much. On a short flight where there is not enough time to do a landing briefing, can the takeoff and landing briefing be done before departure? To a certain extent, yes. Okay, when we do, let's say I have a 30-minute flight, right? This is very short in a 737, or even, I think I've done 20, 25 as well. Well, in that case, there's a certain part of the briefing that can be done prior. For example, I can take up and I can discuss the low-level charts, the terrain. I can talk about all the different threats that might be in the airport that I'm going to. Everything that's in our airport briefs that we have about that airport, all of that can be covered. So we have a good situational awareness to start with. But the actual approach briefing, what we called the DALTA part, descend, approach, landing, taxi, and apron, that has to be done in the aircraft, but it can be shortened down. You can talk about things like taxi, what we can expect stuff before the flight as well. So, but some of the stuff have to be briefed in the aircraft because it includes things like our courses that we set up, our ILS frequencies, landing performance, and that has to be done in real time in the flight day because it has to be verified, and it's different for the departure and the arrival. Course. So the courses set up for our departure is not going to be the same as the courses for our landing, so that has to be changed. But yes, a big part of the briefing, especially the more detailed things that we need to discuss, that can be done earlier because we won't have time to do that during our very short level flight, which might be almost non-existent. The perfect flight from an economical standpoint is actually a parabol. It's where you climb and then immediately start to descend. That's the most economic way of flying an aircraft. The cruise part should be as little as possible. That's why we try to get as high as possible and then descend. There are many factors to this that you will all be studying when you do your ATPL theory later on. Right, so Ian, Jill, good to see you here again. Petter, on some YouTube channels we see boo comments between Boeing and Airbus supporters. I guess the companies are more cooperative in real life and share information. No, they would share very little information. The only information that Boeing and Airbus would share with each other is completely safety related. If there is a system like a common component that they're both using, or engines, for example, that they've found problems with, then there will be communication. But otherwise, it's very much two teams, even when it comes to how they work and share information. Nothing when it comes to the technical bit. They're very secretive. It's all trade secrets because this is a huge market, an enormous amount of money that is being poured into this market all the time. And of course, the big players are not about to be sharing that with their biggest competitor that might be taking a $2 billion order from them. So there is a lot of competition going in between them. Now, what I should say is when it comes to supporters, they both Boeing, Airbus, Embraer, Cessna, they are making fantastic aircraft. Right? If I take Boeing and Airbus, just because they're the two biggest competitors, when it comes to safety, things like that, they're neck to neck. They're almost exactly the same. They have the same safety foundation in them. Okay, so the systems might be different in both of them. Their philosophies might be slightly different as to how they use automation, for example, but the underlying safety value is exactly the same. They cannot afford to take any risks. They cannot afford to get blamed for a crash anywhere. They have to be at the absolute front line of safety all the time. Otherwise, they're out of the game. Okay, so I would be happy to fly an Airbus. I'll be happy to fly a Boeing. Both of them I know are fantastic aviation operators that are like makers of aircraft. So that's that's what I think anyway. I prefer Boeing because I've always been flying Boeing, but nothing says that if I would try an Airbus, I might like that just as much. Right. Oh, another thing that I wanted to take up now, since I have your attention here, guys. There was someone mentioning that that Captain Joe had made some comments about YouTube channels that were that is discussing ongoing events, and he thought it was despicable and stuff. Some people thought that he was throwing shade at my channel. Now, I do not think so. I hope not. Because I did 2 videos about the ongoing investigation of the 737 MAX incident, and the only reason I did that, guys, was because I fly the 737 myself, and when the technical bulletin came out from Boeing and the airworthiness directive came out from the FAA, I felt that I had an obligation to explain to you guys what those 2 things were. All right, so what did it mean? Why did Boeing go out and do that? Why did the FAA go out and do that? And when the interim report came out, I did that as a follow-up, explaining that, listen, now this has come up, which has actually confirmed what we were talking about. Normally, I completely agree with what Captain Joe said in his video, namely that we shouldn't be talking like the press does about ongoing investigations without knowing anything. It is disrespectful to the passengers that were on the accident flight, to their families. I would never talk about incidents that I didn't know anything about just because I know that you guys are curious. No, but when I think that there is information that needs to be deciphered for you, when something needs to be explained by someone who's actually in the business, well, then I feel that I have an obligation to try to do so. But I'm always going to stress the fact that we do not know exactly what has happened before we get the final report. No matter what you read in the press, no matter what you see on different YouTube channels, that's it. So when Captain Joe said that, I completely agree with the sentiment completely, and I really hope that he didn't refer to my channel when he said that, because that would make me sad. Right, so that's it. And let's see. There's more super chat here. I'm coming a little bit behind. Umar Selim, thank you very much. Hi Peter, what career path do you think you would have taken if you were not able to fly commercially? Keep up the great work. Well, thank you. I think I would probably have done something in business. I find starting my own company in whatever would be something that I would really like to do. I find it fascinating to deal with people, to try to provide a service or something that fulfills the need of someone and continue to make it better and better all the time. This is something that I feel very passionate about. It's partly why I've started this YouTube channel, to be perfectly honest. It's because I had something that I felt that I wanted to share, but also because I wanted to see how I can actually create a product that didn't exist before. An information flow or a network where you guys who are interested in aviation, but maybe not pilots yet, or just aviation enthusiasts or sim flyers or actual pilots, can come together and create something amazing together. This is why I took the sidestep of creating the Mentour Aviation app, for example. It's very much to try to cater for you guys and for me, for my curiosity of dabbling in business. Now, guys, I'll take the chance, since we're already talking about that, to if you haven't already, all right. I know I say this on every live stream, but I hope every time that I'll get a few more over. So if you haven't tried out the app, there is a chat in there. I'm going to be rebuilding that. Okay, it's going to be much better, so that you guys can talk about different subjects and stuff in different forums. But at the moment it's a chat where you can ask me questions, or Ava, or Mel, or any of the other pilots in there who really can answer your questions when I'm not in there. You can also talk to other enthusiasts and stuff. It's completely free, all right? The chat is free, the app is free. I put up loads of videos, links to YouTube videos that I think that you should watch. We have different themes. We talk about, you know, what happened to the MH370, what about that, and people can have their own theories and discuss it. But also, I am trying, and I'm going to build more of these. These are training videos. Basically, I wanted to show you guys how it's actually like in the flight deck under certain conditions. All right, so how to do a rapid, an RTO, rejected takeoff and evacuation, or a TCAS maneuver, or how to fly Cat 3 approach when it's really, really foggy. How do we actually do that? How do we do the go-around? How do we do the engine failure after takeoff? Now, I know that people are using this for their actual type ratings, okay? This is not training material for type rating, but it can be used to kind of show what's going on. And the way that I filmed the first set of videos, now I'm not going to continue to do that, all right? I've done 360 videos, which are cool. Basically, you can swipe around like this. You can see everything that we're doing inside of the cockpit, or you can change the direction of the phone. You can do exactly the same. Or if you have a 360 headset, you can just put that on, and it will be feeling like exactly like you're sitting on the jump seat with me. I'll be discussing things for you. So these 360 videos are really cool because it enables me to show you everything at once. But what I will be doing coming up is I'm going to do instructional videos with a better camera, with much more precision, with high resolution, with insets pointing, kind of like I did on my previous video now, but with much better camera guy, a much wider angle, so you see much more at the same time, so that you guys can get a real sense of what's going on. Now, these are training collections, and they do cost money. Okay, that's because I had to get a simulator, I had to rent people to do this, and I want to continue building the app. So yes, there is some starter. You can choose. No one needs to pay anything for the app. But if you want to, you can buy these collections, and that will help me continue to build on the app itself. And now I'm done with that. So now I'll continue to answering your questions. Jonathan Price, could you describe the role of a base captain? Yeah, these are different, okay? The different airlines have different ways of doing this, but a base captain tends to be the closest point of contact for all the pilots that are in a specific base. So at the top of an airline, you have the chief pilot. Right, but the chief pilot can't be answering all of the questions or taking all of the calls that are being made from a company, you know, a huge company with thousands of pilots. So at every base, there's going to be one captain that is nominated the base captain, which is basically the boss of all the captains, and all the first officers, and all the cabin crew at that base. He's going to be the point of contact, so you contact him or her, and they will then answer your question. Hopefully they can do it immediately, or they'll take it up the chain. But it is the local boss. Now, I'm not a base captain, I'm a base TRE. That means that I am a base type rating examiner, so I am responsible for all the training that's going on my base. All of the line training that goes on. If someone has failed a line check and needs retraining, that will be me, and checking out for first officers when they go in for command upgrade. Who should be going? Are they ready? What can we do to help them to progress? That is my role. David R., can a passenger operate the emergency raft in the water? Yeah, it should be. It says very clearly what to do. If it is a raft, it tells you how to disconnect it. It's a big letter saying that, like, open here to disconnect from aircraft, things like that. So yeah, it's built so that you should be able to do it. However, if you do have a crew member there, it's likely that they are probably going to handle it because they're more familiar with it. Martin Almosetoft, thank you very much. Now it seems like your question didn't come in, and when that happens on the super chat, just go into the app. There's a submit feedback function on the app. If you press that, it will send me an email. So just write super chat in the content, sorry, in the header, and then write your question there, and I'll write you a answer as soon as I can. Ian Gill, Petter, it was the safety side I was interested in, so yeah, I have to go back there to check. Yeah, like I said, they do when it comes to safety, they do cooperate. Like all aircraft manufacturers, everything is always open source. You know, when a finding is coming out, they will always go out and say, this is the finding, this is the reason, which is obviously available to all the other manufacturers to learn from as well. So yes, the safety side, Boeing, Airbus, and all the other manufacturers are working together. But on the technical side, no. Pete, just started watching your channel yesterday. Here 5 for all the hours of knowledge and for all the hours of knowledge and entertainment you've given me yesterday. Excellent. So this is why I'm here. It makes me really, really happy. And by the way, I have 737 people watching at the moment. That's epic. It makes me really happy to hear when people come in and give me those kind of comments. Right? I know that this channel is I have more than 400 videos out there at the moment. Some of the earlier ones are really, really bad, but the content is good. Right? It's the way that I'm presenting it is horrible. It's really boring for some of my earlier videos because I didn't know what to say when. I didn't know when to deliver a line or when to give you something to hook on to so you know what was going to come. But now I do. Now I kind of know. I'm learning every day though, so it's going to get better and better. And what will happen to the channel is that I am really hoping that after New Year's, in February or so, you're going to start getting much more of me showing you how to actually do things. Rather than me telling you how something works, I will show you. All right, and I'm hoping that the channel will take one big jump and leap with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some of the more curious stuff. You know, like can a passenger land or how can a passenger land an aircraft? You know, what do you do? What do you need to do in order to get the aircraft on the ground? I'm doing stuff like that, showing you on the channel. All right. The more technical stuff that I know that some of you guys have been asking for. So, what do we do in case you have a complete hydraulic failure? How does that actually work? How do we read the checklist? Which checklist have to use? Stuff like that, which is very technical and needs to be explained very thoroughly. That will come in as collections inside of the Mentour Aviation app to a big degree. And the reason for that is that I know that is kind of it's very, very niched. As in, I know that you guys who are watching this right now, the 740 of you who are, you would love to see that, and I do know that some of it will come out on the channel as well. But I will put most of that inside of the app because there is a much smaller audience for that. And I want to be able to be really nerdy. I want to be able to go into real technical detail on those kind of videos. And if I would do that on the YouTube channel, well then I almost no one would watch it because they would think that it's way too much technical talk. And I can't do what I'm good at, which is to explain things in a simple way, something that's complicated in a simple way. I really enjoy doing that on the channel. Cool. So let's take some questions from the chat here. Do you fly Flight Simulator at home for practicing? No, I don't. Okay, this is a question I get very often. I haven't yet found a reason to do that. When I was looking for jobs, I did to a certain extent, mostly because I wanted to practice IFR procedures like NDB holdings, VOR holdings, and things like that. And of course, I didn't have money to rent a flight simulator. In that case, it was really good to kind of just for the thinking, just for the situational awareness, like what kind of entry am I going to do into this holding? Why, right? What speeds? What's my scan speed like? It's great for that. But right now, you have to realize that I'm either flying an aircraft, instructing in a simulator, or doing a video about flying an aircraft or instructing in a simulator. So right now my life is very much revolving around aviation. It always has been, but never as much as it is right now. So no, I think my wife would probably skin me if I would tell her that, listen, I'm just going to go on and fly 737 on my computer for a while. I hope you see my drift. Barrio El Calvario, hello from Los Angeles. Well, hello from Girona in Spain. RS Aviation, by the way, RS, thank you very much for helping me with the chat and to monitor the chat. Are there any tours coming? Would anyone love to meet Peter? Would anyone love to meet? Would you love to meet me? Is anyone interested? Say yes, please. Yeah, I haven't got any. Let's see if this volume is a little bit high. I haven't got any tours planned right now. Okay, but I will be starting to pitch up in some air shows. Probably in Germany, I'd say in the spring. It's very likely that I will be there. I will tell you, I will definitely push it out in the Mentour Aviation app so you guys know where I am and when. But yeah, I would love to meet you guys. As you saw, if you follow me on Instagram, I was visiting a flight school up in Cambridge when I was there now. Not in Cambridge, in Nottingham. When I was in Nottingham over the week to renew my type rating examiner license. I also went to Cambridge to VA Airline Academy or VA Airline Training that used to be called Virtual Aviation. Those are friends of mine. They are the ones who let me borrow the simulator for the last video. So I pitch up the place like that. Normally though, I do it with very short notice. So that's why you guys don't know about it, because I don't know about myself. Like, I got to borrow that simulator with literally less than a day's notice. And those kind of things would just happen spontaneously. But yeah, like, I would love to set up a meeting in London and in Barcelona and in Stockholm. I just don't want to put on a big thing about me being there and then ending up not having any people come, basically. So that's my fear. I don't know if it's founded or not, but that's what I'm thinking. That's why I'm a little bit reluctant to do a big thing. I'd rather do just these spontaneous things. Leonidas, it is a dream of mine to meet Mentor one day. I would even fail. Don't fail your line check to meet me. All right. You know, it's some. Oh, I get a little bit blushing here now. It's great to hear. I still can't believe that people would say those kind of things to be just about meeting me. To be perfectly honest. So some more super chat questions coming up. So I'm not a pilot. From Peter Pete, I'm not a pilot. I fly once every 2 months for vacation. What do you think is best for a 12 to 14 hour flight to get over jet lag? Jet lag is very individual, right? Just trying to keep to your routine and trying to get some good sleep when you can is good. If you're going somewhere to stay, then you need to adapt fairly quickly to the time of that place. So I would just suggest to maybe start even before the trip to go to bed earlier or later, depending on what way you're going. And then try to travel as comfortably as you can and can afford, so that you can sleep properly. And don't drink alcohol on the aircraft if you can. You can take a glass of wine for your food, but don't do it to relax yourself, because that's just going to make things even worse. But otherwise, drink a lot of water. Keep yourself hydrated, because the body is not going to know exactly what to do. It will drain itself of fluids, especially on the longer flights. Because it's really dry in the cabin, you will lose a lot of fluids, and that's not going to help with your jet lag. But these are just like homeschool kind of things. The reality is that if you do a lot of flights, like 2 per month, then you probably have already some kind of technique what suits you and your personality best. I'm starting to lose my voice a bit here, so I'm going to take my Mentour cup and my Mentour cap and drink some tea. People have been asking about this cap. If you look here in the around the video, you'll see that I've started to ship some merchandise. The cap is not part of that, alright? The cap is very exclusive. I'm going to send it out to the first batch. I'm going to send out to some of my top patrons. If you want to join my Patreon crew, the link here is down in the description of the video. I'd love to see you there. My patrons are really valuable to me, both because they're financially supporting the channel, but also because they're helping me with questions about what kind of thumbnails I should be using, what title should I be using, is this video good enough, because they always get to preview it. So this first batch is going to go out to some of the ones that have been with me longest, and and then I'm going to start producing some more stuff as well. Maybe not not hats, but something else, because I want to give back to my patrons. They've given me so much support throughout the almost 4 years that I've been doing this now, that I want to give something back. And that's why, if you're a patron and you're watching this, then go into your details. I think it's like your contact info, put your shipping address in there. And I've already started contacting some of you guys that I want to send something for via email, but I can't contact everyone via email, so I'm gonna have to get your contact details over Patreon. So please go in and try to update that. That would be great. So, from David R, are there any emergency landing spots crossing the Atlantic? To my knowledge, not really. I mean, there's no place to land. There's no islands on the way. What tends to be, you're in a couple of hours away from Greenland, from Iceland, and then from Northern, or from Ireland. So if you're ETOPS approved, that means that you have extended range. You can fly a couple of hours away from one of these alternates on single engine. That's what ETOPS is all about, being able to fly longer than 1 hour away. If you are not ETOPS approved, like me and my airline are not, then you have to fly within 1 hour from a suitable alternate all the time, which means that you have to fly via Canada, via Greenland, via Iceland, and then down to Ireland or UK, depending on where you're going. Martin Almsetoft, please explain the function of the yaw damper. Oh, the yaw damper keeps coming back as one of those things that people are really interested in. So the yaw damper has a couple of functions. The yaw damper is there to stop something called a Dutch roll movement. Okay, it's a half pilot induced movement that is very unpleasant, that moves the aircraft both in roll and in yaw mode. It's kind of a little bit like this, like a little bit of a chandelle that goes forth and back. If you don't have a yaw damper which is connected to a computer that can artificially kind of use the rudder to counteract that movement, then we will at higher altitudes start getting into this Dutch roll movement. Go and Google Dutch roll and you'll find exactly a definition of what it is, because it was a while since I read about it, to be perfectly honest. So that's one of the things. That's what the yaw damper does. It damps the yaw, hence the name. But the other thing that it does on a daily basis is it's coordinating the turns. So while you start flying on a Cessna or a Piper or whatever, Diamond, or whatever it might be, you know that your flight instructor is going to be telling you that as you're turning, everyone in the beginning starts turning without pushing any rudder, and you start to feel that you're falling in. The aircraft is not coordinated. So the instructor will tell you, no, if you're turning right, you're going to put some right rudder in as well, and then you have a slip and skid indicator that will show you whether or not the turn is coordinated. And that's a lot of the training in the beginning about coordinating turns. Now, when you come to the 737, all of a sudden you stop doing that. Right? You don't have to push the rudder when you're turning anymore, because the yaw damper is doing that for us. It's much better at it. So when we start turning, even when we're flying manually, when we start turning, we just turn the yoke, and the yaw damper puts in as much rudder as needed in order to make the turn perfectly coordinated, so that you, the passengers in the back, don't notice it at all. Okay, so those are the primary functions of the yaw damper. And if you want more information than that, once again, I think that there are some tutorials out on YouTube. I haven't done any yet, but I'm sure there are. So Garfield 2142, have you ever been to Hungary? Have I been to Hungary? I don't think so, actually. I don't think I've flown to Hungary. Would love to. Wait, maybe I have. I have to think about that one. I'm not sure, to be perfectly honest. I fly all over the place, and I've done so for almost 18 years, so it is possible that I have. I haven't visited the country though, so much I'm sure about. Omar Selim, I'm sure many people would show up. Maybe, but that's why I think what I will do is I would probably put up... Shit, I'll lose my voice again. Oh, the Mentor cups you can get, by the way, if you're looking for Mentor merchandise. Here, there's a link to Teespring down here in the description of the video, and you can check it out if you're interested. It's slightly different than this one, but anyway, this is the original. So what I would probably do when it comes to meetups is that I would probably suggest, like, let's say Barcelona and a date, and then I would put up on mentorpilot.com, and you see here, there, mentorpilot.com. I will put a list up like how many are interested in coming, and that's it. And this is how much the venue costs to rent. Let's see if we can ship it in and get it. And then if it turns out that there's 10 people coming, well then we'll just go to a bar. And if it turns out that it is 100 people coming, well then we'll have to rent a room somewhere. You know, it's probably best to do it that way. Ashley M. How do pilots know what frequencies to use to contact any airport, particularly if it isn't their destination, say an emergency mid-flight? Well, it's a great question. First of all, we have destination maps, as in we have a low-level charge and high-level charge that covers the whole area we're operating in. And on there are actually some frequencies, as in general area frequencies for the ATC units that's controlling. You can always ask the ATC unit, so I'm diverting here, do you have a frequency? And then they can transfer you on. Now, what reality happens is that we have electronic flight bags, and in there are all the airports in the area where we're operating to. So we can choose any airport in there. We automatically get up the standard arrival routes, the approach charge, the ground charge, and all of the frequencies that are available on all the airports around. So that's what we do. When I started, we didn't have electronic flight bags, and then we had a big bunch of alternate plates in a huge, like 3 folders of huge Jeppesen binders that had all of this charge, and they were updated all the time, periodically, so that they were always up to date. And if we had to divert and we didn't have the alternate plates, well then we just went in there. They are in alphabetic order, so we just open up the brick, as we called it, and we took out the charge that we needed, kept the brick apart, and then when we were done, we put it back in the right place, closed it, put it into the binder, and there it was. So, great question. But of course, we do have to have the plates. We need to know the runway length and things like that. Okay, we could, if we didn't have the plates and nothing was working. The FMC has quite a lot of information in it. For emergency use, you could just ask air traffic control for the information that we need and sort it out. There's always a way. You just have to think a little bit outside of the box. Attila Bodis, thanks for all the absolutely fantastic content. Great, I'm loving that people are starting to use that hashtag. Absolutely fantastic. Now I noticed that someone had already stolen that hashtag on Instagram, so there's loads of like half-naked ladies and stuff on there. Don't go in and check just because of that. But I'm going to continue using it because I think it's absolutely fantastic. And you have that on the let's see if I can show you, for example, on the backside of the T-shirt on my the merchandise that I create. This is just some of the merchandise that I have. But as you can see there on the down left corner, you have the absolutely fantastic hashtag on the backside of the T-shirt because I really love that that hashtag. I think it is absolutely fantastic. So, and you didn't have a question, Attila? Well, thank you. Max Wiens, hi Peter. Single engine airplanes and small multi-engine airplanes can't fly full seated and with full fuel tanks. They exceed maximum takeoff weight. You're always making a compromise. What about airline jets? Same thing there. I can't fill up my 737 with fuel and passengers. That's just not possible. The fuel capacity that we have, if we use both the main tanks and the wings and the center tank, is about 21 tons. Let's say that we have a maximum takeoff weight of, say, 74 tons. The zero fuel weight is about 42 tons. So, 42 tons plus 42 tons plus 21. So that's 63 tons. 74, that gives us 9 tons for passengers. Which is not a lot. So you can already see there that if you're gonna have passengers and cargo, or bags and stuff, it's not gonna be much left. So these smaller jets, they're not made to do that. I have only filled it up to the brim once, and that was when I did the delivery flight from Seattle. Then we were only 3 people on board, and we basically filled it up to maximum capacity, a little bit more than 21 tons. I think the Boeing guy said that we've been jumping up and down on the wings in order to fill out every single air pocket to make sure that you can make that 10-hour flight, direct flight. But then obviously there was no passengers on board, so the weights weren't a problem. But yeah, it's a compromise even on the bigger ones. Let's see. Jordan calls. Good to see you here, Jordan. I've never seen anyone drink a Bloody Mary in a pub or bar or restaurant in my life, yet everyone and their dog is drinking them on planes. What the hell? You know what? I do as well. Not when I'm flying, obviously, but when I go on vacation, one of the little rituals me and my wife have is that we take a Bloody Mary on the flight. There is an answer to that, all right? There is. I'm not sure if this has actually been scientifically proven or if it's just a myth, but the taste buds do react differently when you're at altitude. The lower pressure actually takes out some flavors that you don't feel very much when you're on the ground. Tomato juice happened to be one of them. So while tomato juice might taste bad on the ground, when you're up at slightly lower pressure, so at about 8,000 feet that you would be, apparently that takes out a little bit more of the flavor of the tomato. Man, I'm losing my voice again. And that makes it just taste better. But I think realistically, it's more about just a cool thing to do. Just something that makes it feel special. Like, yeah, I'm finally going on this trip. Let's take that Bloody Mary to make it official that we're going. I think that's probably realistically what it's all about. Joanne Taylor. Thank you, Joanne. You didn't have a question. Well, thank you for being here and for supporting. Nicholas Blackmore. I just saw a 747 pilot on YouTube discussing the movie Flight with Denzel Washington. Maybe a future idea for Mentor. I think I've talked to that guy actually. We might do something together. I see he's been posting quite a lot of videos. Yeah, I mean I could do that. Now you've already seen my latest video about rolling an aircraft. So, and you saw how I did that. No, and that's something great that you brought that up actually. It's something that I wanted to clarify. So a lot of people have said, well, great barrel roll. I did not do a barrel roll. All right. What I did was show you what happened if a pilot get into an upset behind another aircraft. So the aircraft basically gets flipped without control. And then I show you that if you do, you can actually continue the roll and continue all the way around to get back up again. But in doing so, I lost a lot of altitude, I gained a lot of speed and potentially quite a lot of G-forces. A barrel roll, that's something you do when you have a lot of thrust available, you probably don't have any passengers aboard, and you initiate a little bit of a climbing roll instead, and the idea is that you only subject the airframe to 1 G throughout the entire maneuver. So the entire maneuver is done, control weight, almost maintaining the altitude, 1 G all the way, so theoretically I could be sitting there in the barrel roll drinking my cup of tea, being upside down, and the tea would stay in my cup. That's what Tex Johnson did on a 727. And if you haven't, Google that, go into YouTube, look for a 707 barrel roll, and you'll get a very grainy footage. And unfortunately he almost disappears on the footage, but you'll see that he did it as a Boeing test pilot who did a barrel roll in front of a big audience at an air show in Seattle way back in the day. I don't remember which date it was or which year it was even. Alright, Arnger, packs on. This keeps jumping. So, Arnger, packs on takeoff or packs off takeoff. Could you explain the reasons? Well, we call it bleeds on and bleeds off, first of all. So packs will always be on. That's the difference. The packs are the actual machines that provides the air conditioning air to the cabin. The bleed switches is the switches that allows bleed air to be taken from the engines to feed the packs, who then feeds into the aircraft. So a bleeds off takeoff is done when we don't want to waste any of that bleed air from the engines, because that takes away power. Just like when you switch the AC on in your car, you feel that it loses a couple of horsepower. It's the same with the aircraft. When you switch the bleeds on, which we do obviously all the time because we need our pressurization system to work, but when we do that, we take away some thrust from the engines. If we have a very short runway, or we have a lot of obstacles, maybe a mountain very close in, and we need a lot of climb, well then what we can do is we can start up the APU, The APU can feed the packs to give air conditioning for a limited time, and then we will turn off the bleed air, so that will be getting most, maximum thrust out of our engines. We can climb away. We can take a couple of extra kilos, or we can take off on a slightly shorter runway doing that. And then once we're airborne and away from all of the obstacles, then we can reconfigure the pressurization panel, get the bleed switches back on again, and turn off the APU. But the packs would be on anyway, okay? The only times we would do a packs off takeoff would be if the packs are not working, or the APU is not working and we need to do a bleeds off. That might be a reason as well. So, Nemo G, good morning from Australia. So we have people here at night in Europe, or evening in Europe, night in India, morning in Australia. This is very cool. Good morning from Australia, from Nemo. During your delivery flight, did you have to stick to the coast, or did you have the chance to bring your family? So we're not allowed to take any revenue passengers or non-revenue passengers. They need to be trained in order to do a delivery flight, because it's a different type of flying. It's not flying under the normal. It's flying under the normal AOC of the airline, but as a delivery flight. So for the family part, no, not really. For the sticking to the coast, yeah, within 1 hour. So not completely over the coast. We had to fly between Canada and Greenland, and then Iceland, and then down. So you're flying some over the sea. But since we don't have ETOPS approval, then we had to stick within 1 hour from a suitable alternate, which is just a little bit tricky in the Greenland area, because there's not too many good airports around there. So steam, but it was still a cool flight, very cool flight. I'd love to do that again. So if someone out there from the delivery department watching this, I'd love to do that again. Anyway, steaming spoon 60. What's the purpose of the N1 set and speed ref rotaries on the ACAS above on the 737? That's if you have a FMC failure. So if the FMC fails, as in the computer fails, you still have to be able to set all of the reference bugs, as in what kind of N1 setting to be using for takeoff, what the speed should be for takeoff, what the speed should be for landing. And you do that using, because it's in auto when the FMC is working, but when you switch it over, well, then you can manually use those knobs to set the values. So you can fly the 737 without the FMC. If the FMC has failed, you just have to set it according to that. Philip Dagis, you are the best teacher. Thank you. Well, thank you. I'll try. I'm not the best teacher. There are plenty of both better teachers and better pilots out there. The only difference is that I choose to talk to you guys and they choose not to, to a certain extent. So I'm really grateful that you appreciate it. I do my best to try to explain things in a way that you guys understand. And I really, really enjoy it. So when I hear that you guys love it, that's like honey to my ears, which is, by the way, something I need for my throat at the moment. Flying Hande. Hey man, congratulations, you know what I mean. Flying Hande is one of our 737 pilots inside of the app. He is always, or not always, but a lot inside of the app answering questions about 737 systems and things like that when I can't be there to do that myself. And Flying Hande is saying, once again, great live. You have a great week. You as well. All the best to your family. So, Kasaba Tameswari. Have you ever tried a desktop simulator? I have. I've looked at them. They're very impressive now. It's in terms of system feedback, performance, looks, graphics, it's crazy good. That's why you've seen. I've actually have a friend of mine who is doing. When I ask him to do some maneuvers that I want to show you from the outside, I'm actually having him doing that, recording it and sending it to me so I can use it inside of my videos. So to kind of show you a specific maneuver, for example, because it does look very, very realistic, and we can see all of the rudder surfaces moving, all of those things. So those desktop simulators that we have access to right now, absolutely amazing. So Jake Harvey, hi from UK, Essex, Southend-on-Sea. Hey from Girona, Catalonia, Spain. And Michael Burke, greetings from Nevada, USA. But in the afternoon there. It's awesome. Flying is awesome, but having a YouTube channel that really touches globally, I would say, is close to even more awesome. You can see that I can actually, on my control panel for the application, I can go in sometimes, quite often, too often, some people say, I send out push messages to all of the app users saying like, hey, let's talk about what the best flight school is, or what do you think happened here, or when now something has happened. If there's been an incident somewhere and we hear about it, well then me or one of my companions that are helping me with the app, Jack, is sending out a push saying that, listen, there's been a runway overrun in the US, or there's been a terrible accident here, so that you guys know about it, so you can go out. And we tend to put links to CNN feeds or BBC feeds or whatever is from the accident site, so that you quickly can notice it. That's another reason to have the app. But anyway, sometimes I send out an app push saying that, okay, I'm going to be in the app. Let's talk a little bit, like this live stream, for example. Let's discuss some stuff. I'll be answering questions. And then I can see how hundreds of people come into the app, and I can go in and I can watch a world view. I can see how it lights up all over the place. So I can see people in like Iceland, and people sitting in New Zealand, talking to some guy in Boston, talking to some dude in Friedrichshafen. It is cool. Beyond imagination, it is cool. All right, so I hope to see as many people as possible inside of the app coming up. I will be using a significant amount of money to try to update the app, to make it even more intuitive, to make it even more fun for you guys to be inside. I'm trying to figure out what to do, because it's like playing chess. You don't really know how people will react until you've done it. But then again, anything that I do, any change that I do inside of the app costs me thousands of euros to do. The smallest change I've done, I think it's cost me 1,200 euros so far. The biggest cost me 10,000. So I really want that app to work, and I want it to be good for you guys, so that the whole community can come together, and that people feel like this is an app that you want to go in and you want to show everyone else that, listen, let's talk about this inside of the app. That's what I'm trying to achieve, and I'm hoping that you guys can see that. All right. Dean Willis is saying in the normal chat here that the Azores are mid-Atlantic. Yeah, that's true. The Azores could be somewhere to go to. Now, I haven't flown over the Atlantic, so I shouldn't be sitting here talking about it, really. But yeah, that's true. The Azores are definitely a possibility to go in and land to, and I think they have been used as well. So, more questions. Could you possibly do a video about air sickness? I have. There is a video. It's very old. Okay, if you go in and you look for, can a pilot be afraid of heights? In there, I speak about air sickness, specifically when you start to do your training to become a pilot, because air sickness tends to be an issue there. But that will work for you if you have air sickness as a passenger as well, to a certain extent. All right. So go in, look for, can a pilot be afraid of heights? Mentor, and you'll find that, and in there, I will talk about air sickness. Why don't you hire a cheaper developer? Yeah, the problem though is that this app is working on both iOS and Android simultaneously. Okay, so it's fairly complex to make one app that does all of these features, including 360, including virtual reality, and make it work over two big platforms with all the different devices. So I need not only a cheap developer, I need a good developer that can test it. And to be honest, it's not that expensive. It sounds expensive on a personal plane, it is, but if you look at it from a company point of view, what a company would pay for to get a properly working app without any snags or issues, then this is not that much money. So I'm more happy, I'm more interested in the quality of the application than the price of it. Billy Adam, what age are you? I am 37. Turning 38 next year. I'm born 81. Good year. So, more questions here. The dogs are probably sleeping. You want to see the dogs? Do you want to see the dogs? Let's see if I can get one of the dogs in here. Pachi! 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 Hier kommt der Gubbe! Hier kommt der Gubbe!
Hey, Patty.
Right, here we have all our favorite mentor dog, Pachi. There you go. Say hello to them. Look here, there. Look into their souls like you do on the videos. You see, he's not always sleeping, right? Most of the time he's actually very, very active. That's one of the reasons why he's sleeping in my videos, because I tend to I tend to play with him quite a lot before, and then he gets bored with me on the videos. So he tries to play with me. I don't play with him. He gets bored. He falls asleep, and that's why he looks like it's a cushion or a pillow or something when in the isn't that right? Yeah. So he is for once and for all, he's a toy poodle, the smallest version of poodles. They're great, fantastic dogs, and I have two of them. This is Patchy. I have Molly as well. One male, one female. So probably next year we'll have loads of these little things if you're interested in getting one. And they're adorable. So, more questions. So, from Geister Furs, saw that you were live and wanted to thank you for the response to my tweet earlier. Of course, started a fanboy just a tiny bit. So, I started to fanboy. Yeah, no problem at all. I'm on Twitter as well, guys. If you haven't already checked that out, I'm on Twitter. I'm not that active on Twitter, but I do pop in from time to time and answer questions and well, like you do on Twitter, basically. Okay, let's see. Arnier, thank you very much for your submission, for your support. Niklas Persson, have you ever considered starting flying long haul? I have. Every pilot has. Now, I've done quite a lot of videos regarding on this subject. Long haul is one of those things that I would have loved to have done when I was young and single and without a family. I think that would have been absolutely fantastic. Right now, when I'm a family man, the most important thing for me is to get home every night to see my family, to see my wife and my kids. And that doesn't go well together with a long-haul roster. So that would require me to be away for a lot of time. I'm not interested in that at the moment. But it's nothing that stops me from thinking that maybe when the kids grown up and things, I might reconsider. So, and also, in this industry, you never know, things change very, very quickly, and if a long-haul company would allow me to stay here in Catalonia, to have my kids going in the same school, and I would have to go away for a few days or something, maybe like part-time, then I would definitely do that as well. So everything is possible. At Mentor Breeding, yeah, that could be taken in it sounds very strange when you say it like that, Jake. Cool, guys. Listen, I'm starting to run out of voice once again. Isak Svensson is asking, heter du Peter eller Peter eller Petter? Petter, 2 T's. So that's just to make it a little bit more fancy. What's your nationality? I am Swedish and proud, which means I will be, once I finish this, I will take my lussebulle, which Patchy really, really wants, and I will drink my tea together with my wife and celebrate the fact that it's 3rd of Advent. And that brings me to my next thing. I'm going to try to make a video tomorrow, which will be released on Friday, but then I will probably take a break over the holidays to spend some time with the family and not talk about and think about aviation. I will give you, I will keep you up to date, and Mentor Aviation app I will be there and things like that, but I think there might be a slight skip in videos for a few weeks while I'll kind of recoup and replan for the coming season, and I hope that's okay. So, guys, if there's no more questions on the super chat, basically, by the way, before I go, I'm going to check the Mentor Aviation app again, make sure that I'm taking some questions from here as well. I always promise to do so and I forget it. What should I study in order to be a pilot from Snab? Well, there's no specific, there's no, unless you go to a university which is aviation oriented, there's no specific degrees that you need. Some airlines requires you to have a degree. That's just to to show the airline that you have the capacity to take in a lot of information over a short period of time. It kind of enables them to show that, yeah, this is probably someone who's switched on. But if you are thinking about different subjects, focus on maths and physics. right? That's really important, maths and physics, because you know, a lot of the ATPL theory is based on that. A lot of the navigation about the performance and things like that is going to be based around mathematics and physics. And you need to understand it in order to understand meteorology, how we fly, how the aircraft works, and why aerodynamics. So it just makes sense. So it's more about understanding those subjects than actually having good grades in them. More questions on the chat here. Mentor, would you rather prefer to work for Emirates or Qatar if all competitions were the same? I'm not going to go into politics. No, it doesn't matter, right? I know that there's a lot of rivalry going on between Qatar and well, the rest of UAE, basically. But so I'm not going to go there. Why do horizontal stabilizers not have winglets? Great question. They do, some of them. Okay, if you look at the biggest, the really big ones, like the Antonov 225, the biggest one in the world, you'll see that they do have. Basically, it's because the amount of lift that's being produced by the horizontal stabilizers is teeny tiny, very small. So while the wings are producing a lot of lift and producing a lot of drag to the induced drag at the wingtips, it makes sense to put the winglet on because it will actually save some fuel, but a winglet on a horizontal stabilizer is likely to cause more drag than it will actually save because of the minimal amount of lift that is being produced. So that's the reason for that. But if you start looking at bigger aircraft, then yeah, you could see them in some cases. Mentor, you've missed the previous super chat. What? So, from Jay Carvey. Make sure to post the Christmas on Instagram, of course. You know, I might even do a live stream from my home, back up with my parents in northern Sweden. Now, if you want to see a fairy tale Christmas, that's where you should be. All right, it is amazing, and I love to go up there. Christmas is the one holiday of the year that I do not want to miss under any circumstances. Okay, that's a problem with being a pilot because sometimes the roster will not fall your way, and very rarely you get annual leave. It was only if you're really lucky that you can get time off over Christmas. But I have this year, so I'm gonna go up and see my family. Snow, fantastic, just fantastic. So if you follow me on Instagram, I'll definitely put some nice Christmas pictures up for you guys. And let's see. So what I'm gonna do now is what I always tend to do. Okay, and that is I go in and I talk to some people inside of the Mentour Aviation chat, right? So I always finish off these live streams with going into the chat, getting some feedback about what you thought, you know, if I should be talking less or more about something. So if you haven't, get the app now, and if you want, this is also something that I tend to do on Sundays if I'm in a good mood. If you guys are interested in getting one of these, let's say you want to try out this 360 stuff. Okay, you want to see how it actually works, then what I can do for a limited time, like from today until Monday, well, this time tomorrow, so 24 hours, I can lower the price of the complete collection, right? It's 10 euros normally. That's 2 hours of instructional video. So 2 hours of you watching me instructing you inside of a flight deck of a 737 of how to do different maneuvers. That costs 10 euros, which is very little if you look at it as 10 euros. As 2 hours of instruction. But what I can do is I can drop that down to only 5 euros for 24 hours. But in order for me to do so, I want to see a lot of interest here first. So any one of you who are interested in doing this, if you want to come in and actually get this collection, it's the all-in-one collection inside of the app. I want you to write yes in the chat right now, and then I will go over and I will fix that. Okay, but then that's just for you guys, and I highly recommend you, even if you don't want to spend 5 euros, if you only want to spend like 99 cents, you can get one of the videos. I have one of them for free, right? You can go in and get the 360 video completely for free there, just to check it out. There we go, there's a lot of it. Molinocus, or Marlinocus, you don't want it. Well, this seems to be, Kalidor doesn't want it. Too cheap. Yeah, but I want more people to have it. And remember, these are the last 360 collections that will come up. All right, I have 2 hours of 360 instruction in there. Let's see if I can get it up again. There we go. Let's see, it doesn't seem to work. Right, cool. Let's see if I can transition it over. Yeah, there we go. So this is what you'll get. You'll get the you'll get to be able to see that's from the engine failure collection. With me and my colleague does an engine failure after takeoff with all of the different checklists and stuff. But like I said, it works perfectly with or without a headset. But with a headset, that's when you really get to enjoy it. You know, that's just like sitting with it. Put a headset on with full volume, and it's like sitting inside of a cockpit together with me, and I'll be talking directly to you. So try it out. That's my suggestion anyway. And that's it, guys. I'll be back, probably not next week, but I will be back with more live videos soon. There's going to be more videos on the channel. Have an absolutely fantastic day wherever you are. And I'm going to go and I'm going to reduce the price from 10 credits or 10 euros that it is now down to 5 credits or 5 euros. That's what it will be. SSB, thank you very much for the last super chat of the day. For 2 of them, actually. I'm just going to say it again. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.